Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the 2009 zombie comedy Zombieland. And the film begins about 2 months after a strain of mad cow disease has mutated to become infectious to humans and turn them into zombies, which is a pretty considerable mutation when you think about it. This undead apocalypse has left society in ruins, as undead apocalypses are wont to do. The few survivors generally operate alone. Spending time together causes emotional connections that can be dangerous to your survival chances. So everyone is a loner these days. And our main protagonist is a college student who has always been a rather neurotic, geeky shut-in. Not perhaps the type of person you'd expect to last long in apocalyptic circumstances, and he personally credits his survival to his lack of emotional connections in the world before, which made it easier to adapt to this one, and to his extensive list of capital R rules, such as always double tap. Don't be stingy with bullets, he tells us in voiceover. Better to use an extra round and be sure a zombie's dead than to have it munch on your ankle. Our protagonist has over 30 of these rules, and given that they've kept him alive for 2 months, which is more than most people can say, they've presumably got some merit to them. Dubbing himself Columbus, because that's where he's heading in search of his parents, our lead finds himself rather uncharacteristically teaming up with strangers he meets on the road. First, the Twinkie-obsessed zombie-killing maniac Tallahassee, then the sisters Wichita and Little Rock. The fact that the older of the two sisters is about Columbus's age and very attractive probably factors into this decision. That they aren't already zombie food shows that all four of this quartet are excellent survivors, but as you've probably guessed, by the end of this movie, they're all going to need to learn an important lesson about how to really live, as opposed to merely survive. Zombieland enjoyed both critical and commercial success. The former was perhaps more surprising than the latter, and neither zombie movies nor zombie horror comedy films generally attacked much critical acclaim. The commercial aspect was probably much more important to the producers, however, and they could certainly have no complaints on that front. The film was the top-grossing zombie movie in history, unadjusted for inflation anyway, with a domestic gross of some 75 million, about 3 times the production budget, while it picked up another 27 million internationally. Now, I'm a big fan of the zombie genre, so you might expect that I would have contributed to that international box office figure. But I didn't actually see Zombieland until a couple of years after it came out, when a friend chose it for a movie night. Despite my reservations about the film, I enjoyed it a lot. Why did I have reservations? Well, one simple reason: Shaun of the Dead. I was very disappointed by Shaun of the Dead. I know that statement's going to trigger some howls of disbelief from some people. It's pretty highly regarded in many circles. For myself, though, I found the first half of Shaun of the Dead to be a very funny comedy, and the second half to be a pretty decent zombie film, but those two halves did not connect well, and the movie as a whole was therefore much less than the sum of its parts. Zombieland does not fall into the same trap. While it doesn't elicit as many laughs in its first half as Shaun of the Dead does, and its zombie menace never really feels as genuinely threatening as the second half of the other film, it does a much better job of blending its comedic and horror elements. Zombieland never forgets that it's a comedy, and even if not every joke hits home, it slings out enough of them that some are sure to land. And it does this while keeping up at least some sense of menace throughout. Zombieland is a horror comedy for every one of its 80-some minutes, without the tonal whiplash that, to my mind, fundamentally flawed Shaun of the Dead. My enjoyment of this movie certainly wasn't harmed by its cast. The core 4 actors have to pretty much carry the whole film, what with almost everyone else being a flesh-eating monster. Fortunately, they're all great in their roles. Jesse Eisenberg is a superb fit for the leading role of Columbus, and in portraying the maniacal Tallahassee, Woody Harrelson seems to be having the time of his life. Now, Harrelson spouted some worrying conspiracy theory type nonsense in recent years, and if that puts you off seeing his films, I get it. I'm not a believer in the old, oh, you have to celebrate the art from the artist argument. Too often it amounts to being nothing more than an argument that we shouldn't hold rich white men accountable for their actions, and we absolutely should, a lot more than we actually do. Wichita and Little Rock, meanwhile, are played by Emma Stone and Abigail Breslin, both talented performers who do good work here. I think they have a harder task than the men, actually, as the script does rather push their characters in performing some of the more selfish, counterproductive decisions that get made. Fortunately, both actors handle the task well. Finally, Zombieland features a fun cameo that I won't spoil. I mean, even though this is a nearly 15-year-old film, so you probably already know it. I won't spoil just in case. Is said cameo a little bit self-indulgent and silly? Yeah, it is, but it works well nonetheless. The casting in this film is just really solid from end to end, basically. So I like this movie quite a bit, but I was not at all excited when a sequel, Zombieland Double Tap, appeared a decade later, which may seem odd, especially since they got the whole main cast, whose performances I just praised, back for the follow-up. The thing is, Zombieland is a coherent, well-constructed end-to-end story that had all of its main characters go through a clear developmental arc. It is, in other words, a strong, self-contained, and complete story. I liked these characters and I enjoyed their adventure, but we've already had their story told. I didn't feel like there was much more that could be done. I had a similar reaction to the release of A Quiet Place Part 2. I very much enjoyed the original A Quiet Place, but it was not a story that I felt needed a sequel. I understand why they made one. It was sure to make money, but I had no interest in seeing it for myself. I'd seen a good film that told a complete and satisfying story. Why risk that positive experience with a sequel that didn't seem to have anything truly new to add? Now, perhaps I'm wrong about Double Tap, perhaps I'm wrong about A Quiet Place 2. I was wrong about this movie in the first place, after all, but I feel like I prefer not to find out. Zombieland did its job so solidly that I simply don't feel any need to see another film about these characters. I've had a satisfying experience with them, and I'm done. Next time, the 1963 thriller, if one uses that term very loosely, Escape from Hell Island. Trust me when I say that it is nowhere near as exciting as the image on your screen attempts to suggest. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've seen today's movie, let me know what you thought of it.